The alarm sirens screamed through every corridor of Jericho Station. Captain Deho Kim grabbed the edge of his command chair as another explosion rocked his freighter. Through the viewport, he watched massive alien warships tear through the civilian settlement like wolves among sheep. "All hands, brace for impact," he shouted into the comm system. His ship, the Steadfast Dawn, shuddered as debris from a destroyed transport scattered across their hull. Deho had been a cargo hauler for 15 years. He knew how to dodge pirates and navigate asteroid fields. But this was different. This was war. The alien ships were huge, easily 3 times the size of any human vessel. Their hulls were dark red, almost black, with strange symbols glowing along their sides. They fired massive energy weapons that cut through station armor like paper. Deho watched in horror as the residential section of Jericho Station exploded, sending thousands of bodies into the cold vacuum of space. "Captain, we have civilians on the lower decks," his first officer, Hyejin, called out. "Refugees from the station. They're terrified." "Get them strapped in," Deho ordered. His hands moved across the control panel, trying to find an escape route through the chaos. Everywhere he looked, ships were dying. The few human defense vessels that tried to fight back were destroyed within minutes. These aliens had technology far beyond anything humanity possessed. On the main screen, a broadcast began. The image showed an alien commander with 4 eyes and scaled skin. He spoke in a voice that their translation software turned into cold, emotionless words. "Humans of Jericho Station, you have been conquered by the Vrexian Dominion. Surrender immediately or face total destruction. Your species is weak. Your resistance is pointless. Submit now and some of you may live as servants." The alien commander's name appeared on the screen. Commander Thraz. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Deho felt rage burn in his chest. Around him, his crew stood frozen, watching the broadcast. Below, he could hear civilians crying and screaming. "Sir, what do we do?" Hyejin asked, her voice shaking. Deho looked at his tactical display. 3 more human colonies were under attack. The aliens were hitting everything at once. But as he studied the enemy ships, something caught his attention. Every time they fired their main weapons, there was a brief moment when their shields flickered. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. "Hyejin, start recording everything. Every scan, every sensor reading, everything about those ships. If we survive this, Earth needs to know what we're facing." "Already on it, Captain." Another explosion. This one closer. The Steadfast Dawn's engines groaned as Deho pushed them past their safety limits. He aimed for the asteroid field at the edge of the system. If they could reach it, they might have a chance to hide. "Incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer shouted. "It's Commander Hyunwoo Park from the Colonial Defense Fleet." "Put him through." The screen flickered, showing a middle-aged man in a military uniform. His face was grim. "All ships in the Jericho system, this is Commander Park. We're mobilizing every available vessel. Hold on. Help is coming." "Commander, this is Captain Kim of the Steadfast Dawn. Sir, they're slaughtering us. These aliens, they're too powerful. Our weapons barely scratch their shields." Park's jaw tightened. "Captain, I need you to transmit everything you can about enemy capabilities. Earth is declaring a system-wide emergency. Every human world is being notified." "Understood, sir. Transmitting all data now." Deho nodded to Hyejin, who began sending their recordings. The freighter shook again. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Captain, they're targeting us." Hyejin screamed. Deho didn't hesitate. He killed all non-essential systems and diverted everything to engines and shields. The Steadfast Dawn shot forward, weaving between burning wreckage. "Behind them, a Vrexian destroyer gave chase. Hold on." Deho yanked the controls hard right, diving under a piece of destroyed station. The alien ship followed, firing continuously. Their weapons hit the freighter's rear shields, which dropped to 20%. They reached the asteroid field. Deho flew between the massive rocks like a madman, using every trick he'd learned in 15 years of flying. The Vrexian destroyer was faster, but it was also bigger. It couldn't maneuver as easily. "Shields at 10%, Hyejin reported. "Come on, girl. Just a little further." Deho whispered to his ship. He spotted what he needed, a massive asteroid with deep crevices. He aimed straight for it, pushing the engines to maximum. At the last second, he cut power and let momentum carry them into a narrow canyon in the rock. The freighter scraped against stone, alarms blaring, but they made it inside. The Vrexian destroyer flew past, unable to slow down fast enough. It searched for them, scanning the asteroids, but Deho had powered down everything except life support. They were invisible. In the cargo bay, refugees huddled together in the darkness. Sujin Lee, an engineer from the research vessel Horizon's Edge, held a young girl who wouldn't stop crying. Sujin had been on Jericho Station delivering supplies when the attack began. She'd barely made it to the docking bay before the station started breaking apart. "Are we safe?" someone whispered in the darkness. "I don't know," Sujin answered honestly. "But the captain got us this far. We have to trust him." Hours passed. The Vrexian ship finally left, presumably moving on to hunt easier prey. Deho waited another hour before powering up their systems. "Status report," he ordered. "Shields recharging. Hull damage on decks 3 and 7, but we're sealed. Life support stable. We have 47 refugees on board." Hyejin read from her display. "And Jericho Station?" Hyejin's voice broke. "Gone, sir." "Completely destroyed. The Vrexians are broadcasting their victory across all channels." Deho closed his eyes. "Thousands dead, maybe tens of thousands. And Jericho was just one target, Captain. Incoming message from Earth. It's going to every human settlement, every ship, every station." "Play it." The message was from Earth's United Defense Council. The speaker was an older woman, her face hard as stone. "This is Council President Minji Choi speaking to all of humanity. Hours ago, an alien empire calling themselves the Vrexian Dominion attacked our colonies without warning or provocation. They have destroyed Jericho Station, New Kyoto, and the mining colonies in the Kepler Belt. Thousands of our people are dead." The president paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was steel. "The Vrexians believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender. They are wrong. As of this moment, Earth declares total war protocol. Every resource, every ship, every person capable of fighting will be mobilized. We have faced extinction before and survived. We will survive again." The message continued. "To the Vrexian Dominion, you came to our homes. You killed our families. You will regret this day for whatever time you have left. Humanity is going to war." The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Deho heard something unexpected. From the cargo bay, the sound of people standing up. The sound of fear being replaced by something else. Anger. Determination. Hyejin looked at him. "Sir, what do we do now?" Deho checked their fuel and supplies. They had enough to reach one of the inner colonies. From there, they could get to Earth, and Earth would need every piece of data they'd collected, every detail about these Vrexian ships and their weaknesses. "We head home," Deho said, "and we give Earth everything we know. The Vrexians think they're the hunters." He looked at the tactical display, at the recorded data of enemy ships. "They're about to learn what happens when you attack humanity's children." The steadfast Dawn's engines flared to life. Behind them, Jericho Station was nothing but debris. But aboard the small freighter, 47 survivors carried something more important than their lives. They carried hope, data, and burning rage. The Vrexians had started this war thinking it would be easy. They were about to discover their fatal mistake. 3 months had passed since the Vrexians destroyed Jericho Station. Commander Thraz stood on the bridge of his flagship, satisfied with his easy conquest. 3 human colonies destroyed, thousands of prisoners taken, and not a single Vrexian ship lost in combat. The humans had fought back with primitive weapons and desperate courage, but it hadn't mattered. Victory was complete. "Commander, we're receiving transmission from the occupied territories," his communications officer reported. "The human resistance cells are still active, but they pose no real threat." Thraz laughed. "Let them play their games. Soon they will understand that submission is their only option." What Thraz didn't know was that everything was about to change. Far from the occupied zones, in a hidden shipyard near Mars, Admiral Jawan Song walked through rows of warships being fitted with new weapons. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for aggressive tactics. The United Defense Council had given her one mission: make the Vrexians regret ever hearing the word human. "How many ships are ready?" she asked the shipyard commander. 32 combat vessels, Admiral, all equipped with the new Reaper missiles. Jiwan smiled. The Reaper missiles were the creation of Dr. Tae-Young Shin, a weapons researcher who had studied the data Captain Deho Kim brought back from Jericho. Tae-Young had found the weakness in Vrexian shields, that brief flicker when they fired their weapons. The Reaper missiles were designed to exploit that exact moment. "And our pilots?" Jiwan asked. "Already trained and eager for payback, ma'am." Among those pilots was Lieutenant Bora Nam, callsign Whisper. She sat in her fighter's cockpit, running through pre-flight checks for the 100th time. Bora had lost her entire family when the Vrexians destroyed New Kyoto. She didn't talk much anymore. She didn't need to. Her flying did all the talking necessary. "All pilots, this is Admiral Song," Jiwan's voice came through the comm system. "Today we stop running. Today we stop hiding. Today we show these aliens what happens when you attack humanity. Our target is a Vrexian supply convoy in the Kepler Belt. No survivors, no mercy. Make them pay for every human life they took." The Hunter Fleet, as they were now called, launched from their hidden bases. 32 warships and over 100 fighters moved silently through space toward the Kepler Belt. The Vrexian supply convoy consisted of 6 large transport ships and 4 escort destroyers. They moved lazily through space, confident that no human force could threaten them. They were wrong. "All ships attack pattern Delta," Admiral Jiwan ordered. "Whisper Squadron, you're up first." Bora Nam led her fighter squadron in a wide arc, coming at the Vrexian convoy from above. The aliens detected them immediately and opened fire, their powerful weapons tracking the small, fast-moving fighters. "Stay tight," Bora said calmly. "Wait for the moment." The Vrexian destroyers fired their main cannons. Just as they did, their shields flickered for a fraction of a second. It was barely noticeable, but the Reaper missiles were programmed to detect exactly that flicker. "Now," Bora shouted. The fighters launched their missiles. The Reapers streaked toward the Vrexian ships, passing through the brief shield gaps and slamming into the hulls beneath. Explosions rippled across 2 destroyers. One broke apart immediately. The other spun out of control, atmosphere venting from dozens of holes. The Vrexian commander on the lead destroyer couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Impossible. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields." But they could. And they did. Admiral Jiwan brought her main fleet in from the side. Human railguns, less advanced than Vrexian weapons but brutally effective, hammered the convoy. The transport ships tried to run, but they were too slow. One by one, they were destroyed. The remaining Vrexian destroyers fought desperately. They managed to destroy 3 human fighters and damage 2 frigates. But against the coordinated assault of the Hunter Fleet, they didn't stand a chance. Within 20 minutes, the entire convoy was debris. "Scan for survivors," Jiwan ordered. "I want prisoners." They found the Vrexian convoy commander in an escape pod. When he was brought aboard Jiwan's flagship, he was shocked to receive medical treatment instead of execution. Commander Hyunwoo Park, who had come from Earth specifically for this interrogation, sat across from the alien prisoner. "Your name," Hyunwoo said. The Vrexian glared at him. "I am Sub-Commander Velkin of the Dominion Fleet. Kill me and be done with it." "We don't kill prisoners," Hyunwoo said calmly. "We're not like you. But you will answer our questions." Over the next hours, Velkin talked. At first because he was threatened, then because he was confused, and finally because he realized something terrifying. The humans were learning. Every question they asked showed deep understanding of Vrexian tactics and technology. They weren't primitive. They were adaptive. "Where is your homeworld?" Hyunwoo asked. Velkin laughed. "You think you can threaten Vrexia Prime? We have a fleet of thousands. You have defeated one small convoy. Commander Thraz will crush you when he returns with reinforcements." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "Commander Thraz is already dead. We killed him 2 weeks ago." The color drained from Velkin's face. "That's impossible. He was in a fortified command base with an entire battle group." "He was," Hyunwoo agreed. Then Captain Yunahan and her team infiltrated the base, sabotaged their defenses, and destroyed every ship in orbit. Thraz died when our Marines stormed his command center. This was true. Captain Yunahan commanded a stealth destroyer called Silent Vengeance. Her specialty was doing the impossible. The destruction of Thraz's base had been broadcast across human space, boosting morale enormously. Velkin stared at the human in front of him. "What are you?" "We're the species you decided to attack," Hyunwoo said coldly. "And now we're going to hunt down every single one of you who participated in the invasion of our space." Meanwhile, on occupied Jericho Station, the Vrexian garrison was learning that controlling human territory was very different from conquering it. Sujin Lee moved through the damaged corridors with practiced ease. She had returned to Jericho with a resistance cell, and now they made the Vrexians' lives miserable. They sabotaged mining equipment, poisoned food supplies, and assassinated officers. The Vrexians never knew where the next attack would come from. Today's target was the main power generator. Sujin had been an engineer on the research vessel Horizon's Edge, and she knew these systems better than the aliens did. She planted charges in exactly the right places, set the timer, and slipped away through the maintenance tunnels. The explosion knocked out power to half the station. In the confusion, her resistance cell freed 50 human prisoners and disappeared into the station's depths. The Vrexian garrison commander was furious. He had lost 15 soldiers in the past month to these attacks. His superiors demanded results, but how could he fight enemies who looked like civilians, who struck without warning and vanished like ghosts? He tried the standard Dominion pacification method, public executions of suspected resistance members. It failed. Instead of frightening humans into submission, it made them angrier. More joined the resistance. Attacks increased. "These humans are insane," the garrison commander reported to his superiors. "They don't fear death. They don't surrender. They just keep fighting." Back on Earth, the United Defense Council met to plan the next phase. President Minji Choi, who had given the declaration of war 3 months ago, looked at the reports with satisfaction. "The Hunter Fleet's first engagement was a complete success," she said. "Our new weapons are effective. Morale is high. What's our next move?" Admiral Jiwon Song stood up. "I propose Operation Vengeance. We identify every Vrexian ship and commander who participated in the initial assault on our colonies. Then we hunt them down one by one. We don't just defend our territory. We make them afraid to enter it. Some will say that's excessive," one council member argued. "Some would be wrong," Jiwon replied. "The Vrexians understand only strength. Every day they think we're weak. More humans die. We need to break their will to fight." Dr. Taeyong Shin added his thoughts. "I've been studying the captured Vrexian ships and equipment. Their technology is impressive, but it's standardized. They build everything the same way. That's their weakness. Once we understand one ship, we understand them all. Meanwhile, every human colony is adapting, building different weapons, trying different tactics. We're unpredictable. They can't plan for that." The vote was unanimous. Operation Vengeance was approved. Lieutenant Bora Nam received her new orders with grim satisfaction. Her squadron was assigned to hunt a specific Vrexian cruiser that had bombarded New Kyoto. The aliens had destroyed her home. Now she would destroy them. The hunt had begun in earnest. Across human space, Hunter Fleet units prowled like sharks. They studied Vrexian patrol patterns, learned their communication codes, and struck without warning. Vrexian ships began disappearing. Survivors reported human vessels that fought with frightening efficiency. The Vrexian Dominion recalled Commander Thraz's replacement and sent Fleet Marshal Corvin with massive reinforcements. Surely this would crush the human resistance once and for all, but intelligence reports troubled Corvin. Human ships had been spotted deep in Vrexian territory, far behind the front lines. They weren't just defending, they were hunting, and they were getting better at it every day. Fleet Marshal Corvin stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at reports that made no sense. In the past month, 17 Vrexian patrol groups had vanished without a trace. Supply lines were being attacked. Officers were being assassinated in their own bases. The humans, who should have been defeated by now, were everywhere. "Sir, another distress signal," his communications officer reported. "The destroyer group in Sector 7 is under attack." "Send reinforcements immediately," Corvin ordered. But when the reinforcements arrived 30 minutes later, they found only debris. No survivors, no sign of the human attackers. It was as if ghosts had struck and disappeared. What Corvin didn't know was that Captain Yuna Han watched from just 10,000 kilometers away. Her ship, Silent Vengeance, was a masterpiece of stealth technology. Its hull was coated with materials that absorbed sensor scans. Its engines ran cold. In the darkness of space, it was nearly invisible. "Target destroyed," Yuna reported to her crew. "Time to move. The reinforcements will search this area for hours. We'll be 3 systems away by then." This was the new human strategy. Strike fast, strike hard, disappear before the enemy could respond. Admiral Jiwon Song called it ghost warfare, and it was driving the Vrexians insane. On the Silent Vengeance, Yuna studied the tactical display showing Vrexian ship movements. She had been hunting them for 6 months now. She knew their patterns, their habits, their weaknesses. The Vrexians were predictable. They followed standard military doctrine. They never expected enemies to do the unexpected. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Song," her communications officer said. Jiwan Song's face appeared on the screen. "Yuna, excellent work on that last target. I have a new assignment for you. Deep in Vrexian core territory, there's a major shipyard called Foundry Station. Intelligence says they're building reinforcements there. I want it destroyed." Yuna smiled. "When do we leave?" "Immediately. You'll be operating alone, far from any support. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong, Admiral. The Vrexians still think they're safe in their core systems. Time to teach them otherwise." While Yuna prepared for her mission, another team was making history in a different way. Sergeant Minho Kwan led a Marine boarding team onto a captured Vrexian destroyer. They had disabled the ship with precise missile strikes, and now they were taking it intact. Minho moved through the corridors with his team, weapons ready. The Vrexians fought back desperately, but they weren't prepared for human close-quarters combat tactics. Within 2 hours, the ship was secured. "This is the 5th ship we've captured," Minho reported to Commander Hyunwoo Park. "The Vrexians don't understand why we keep taking their vessels intact instead of just destroying them." "Because we learn from every ship we capture," Hyunwoo replied. "And because there's psychological value. They know we're using their own ships against them." This was true. The captured Vrexian flagship from months earlier had been refitted with human technology and renamed Retribution. Captain Daeho Kim, the cargo hauler who had survived Jericho Station, now commanded it. The symbolism was powerful. A ship that once attacked humans now defended them. Daeho stood on the bridge of Retribution, looking at the tactical display. His mission today was to escort a convoy through contested space. The Vrexians had tried to ambush them 3 times. 3 times they had failed. The aliens simply couldn't understand how humans adapted so quickly. "Sir, Vrexian cruiser approaching," his tactical officer reported. "Let them come," Daeho said calmly. "Charge weapons." The Vrexian cruiser opened fire first, expecting an easy kill. But Retribution's shields, now enhanced with human modifications, held easily. Then Daeho returned fire with both Vrexian energy weapons and human railguns. The combination was devastating. The cruiser broke apart under the assault. "That's for Jericho," Daeho whispered. While the military hunted Vrexians in space, Dr. Soo Hyun-yoon fought a different kind of war. She was a psychologist specializing in warfare and enemy morale. Her research had discovered something important. The Vrexian military culture was based on perceived invincibility. They had conquered dozens of species. They had never faced sustained resistance. Their entire psychological structure depended on being seen as unstoppable. Humanity decided to destroy that perception. Dr. Soo-hyun designed a psychological warfare campaign. Human ships didn't just defeat Vrexians. They broadcast the defeats across Vrexian communication networks. They hacked into Vrexian military channels and spread rumors of human superweapons and unstoppable ghost ships. They left survivors specifically to spread fear. The campaign worked better than anyone expected. Vrexian crews began refusing assignments to human space. Officers reported their soldiers were afraid. Some units even mutinied when ordered to patrol areas where human hunter fleets operated. "The Vrexians are cracking," Soo-hyun reported to the Defense Council. "Their morale is collapsing. They've never faced an enemy that fights back this effectively." President Minji Choi nodded. "Good, keep the pressure on. I want every Vrexian soldier to know that entering human space means death." On occupied Jericho Station, Sujin Lee's resistance cell received new supplies from a human smuggler ship. The supplies included advanced weapons, explosives, and something even more valuable: intelligence about Vrexian troop movements. "We have an opportunity," Sujin told her team. "The garrison commander is visiting the mining complex tomorrow. If we strike, then we'll finally get that monster," one of her fighters said. The garrison commander had ordered the execution of hundreds of prisoners. He was hated by every human on the station. They planned carefully. The next day, when the garrison commander's transport landed at the mining complex, Sujin's team was waiting. The ambush was quick and brutal. The commander and his guards were killed within seconds. The Vrexians responded with fury, searching the entire station. But the resistance fighters had already vanished into hidden tunnels. And that night they struck again, destroying a weapons depot. The new Vrexian garrison commander, replacement for the one they just killed, sent a desperate message to Fleet Marshal Corvin: "Respectfully request immediate evacuation. This position is untenable." The humans are impossible to control. Corvin denied the request. Retreat was not an option. But privately, he wondered if his forces could actually hold their occupied territories. Meanwhile, Captain Yuna Han guided Silent Vengeance deep into Vrexian core space. It took 2 weeks of careful navigation, avoiding patrols and sensor nets, but finally they reached Foundry Station. The shipyard was massive, building 3 new battleships and dozens of smaller vessels. It was heavily defended by orbital platforms and a battle group of 20 ships. "Captain, how do we handle this?" her tactical officer asked. "We're one ship against an entire fleet." Yuna studied the tactical display for a long moment. Then she smiled. "We don't fight them. We make them fight each other." Over the next 6 hours, Yuna's team performed digital warfare. They hacked into the Vrexian communication systems, sending false orders and creating confusion. They made one group of defenders think another group were enemy infiltrators. They triggered automated defense systems at the wrong times. The Vrexian forces began fighting each other. In the chaos, Silent Vengeance moved close to Foundry Station and launched missiles loaded with high-yield explosives. The missiles struck the station's main reactor. The explosion was spectacular. Foundry Station tore itself apart, taking 2 of the new battleships with it. The orbital defenses fired wildly in all directions, destroying several of their own ships in the confusion. Silent Vengeance slipped away undetected, leaving behind total devastation. When word of Foundry Station's destruction reached Fleet Marshal Corvin, he finally understood the truth. The humans weren't just defending their territory. They were taking the war to the Vrexian Dominion itself. Nowhere was safe. He sent an urgent message to the Vrexian High Command. "The humans are far more dangerous than we estimated. Recommend immediate peace negotiations." The response shocked him. "Peace is weakness. We are the Vrexian Dominion. We do not negotiate with prey species. Destroy them, or we will find someone who can." But while the High Command issued brave words, their actions told a different story. Vrexian fleets began withdrawing from exposed positions. They stopped launching offensive operations. Ships traveled only in large groups. The Dominion was going defensive. Admiral Jiwan Song recognized the shift immediately. "They're afraid," she told her commanders. "Good, now we escalate." A week later, a message was broadcast across the entire galaxy. It was from Earth's United Defense Council. It contained a list of names. Every Vrexian commander, officer, and ship captain who had participated in the initial assault on human colonies. President Min Ji-choi's voice was cold as ice. "The individuals on this list are war criminals. They ordered attacks on civilian populations. They killed thousands of innocent humans. The United Defense Council declares that these individuals will face justice. We will find them. We will capture them. We will hold them accountable." The message continued. "To the Vrexian Dominion, you came to our homes. You killed our families. You thought we would surrender. Instead, we have hunted you across the stars. This is your final warning. Surrender those on this list or face the consequences." The galaxy watched in shock. A young species. The list was everywhere. On every screen. Every broadcast, every data network in the galaxy. Earth had published the names of 317 Rexian military officers, ship captains, and commanders who had participated in the attack on human colonies. The message was simple. These individuals would face justice. The galaxy called it the Reckoning List. Ambassador Yunji Kang stood before the Galactic Council, defending humanity's actions. She was a small woman with gray hair and a voice like steel. Around her, representatives from a dozen alien species questioned Earth's aggressive tactics. "Your species is pursuing a vendetta," the Tellurian representative said. "This is not justice. This is revenge." Yunji looked at him calmly. "When someone breaks into your home and murders your children, do you simply ask them to leave? Or do you make sure they can never threaten your family again? But your military actions are destabilizing the entire sector," another representative argued. "Your hunter fleets operate in territories far from your borders." "Because the war criminals on our list fled to those territories," Yunji replied. "We're not conquering anyone. We're not enslaving anyone. We're hunting those who committed crimes against humanity. If the Vrexian Dominion had handed over the individuals on our list, this would have ended months ago." The Tellurian representative tried again. "But surely some level of forgiveness?" "Tell me," Yunji interrupted. "How many species has the Vrexian Dominion conquered? How many billions have they enslaved or killed? For centuries, the galaxy has watched them expand. You did nothing. Now humanity fights back and suddenly we're the problem? The council chamber fell silent. While diplomats debated, Commander Jisoo Ro was conducting the most dangerous mission of the war. She led a small team of intelligence operatives on the surface of Vrexia Prime, the Vrexian homeworld itself. They moved through the capital city at night, disguised as Vrexian civilians. Human intelligence had spent months preparing for this mission, learning Vrexian language and customs, creating perfect false identities. Jisoo and her team looked alien even to themselves with their advanced disguises. Target building ahead, Jisoo whispered into her comm unit. The building was Vrexian High Command headquarters, the most secure facility on the planet. This is insane, one of her team members said. If we're caught, we won't be caught, Jisoo said with confidence she didn't entirely feel. We're not here to fight. We're here to plant a tracker and leave. They had obtained the security codes from a captured Vrexian officer. The codes worked, getting them past the first 3 security checkpoints. But as they approached the High Command bunker, alarms suddenly blared. We're compromised, Jisoo shouted. Execute escape plan beta. The team split up, running in different directions. Jisoo carried the tracking device, which was now useless if she couldn't place it near the bunker. She made a split-second decision and threw it as hard as she could. The device sailed over a wall and landed somewhere in the High Command compound. Vrexian security forces were everywhere. Jisoo and her team fought their way to their extraction point, a stolen transport ship hidden in a commercial spaceport. 2 team members were killed in the fighting. The others barely made it to the ship. As they fled Vrexia Prime, pursued by fighters, Jisoo activated the tracking device. It worked. The signal was weak but clear, broadcasting from inside the High Command compound. Mission successful, she reported to Earth. We have their location. Fleet Admiral Seonho Lim stood in the command center of the warship Indomitable. Watching the fleet assemble, ships arrived from every human colony. Military vessels, converted civilian ships, even old freighters with weapons bolted to their hulls. Every human settlement had sent something to the fleet. The armada numbered over 2,000 ships. It was the largest military force humanity had ever created. Seonho was an old man who had fought in Earth's last global conflict decades ago. He had seen the worst of human nature, but he had also seen the best. And right now, watching ships from Mars and Earth and the Belt and the outer colonies all coming together, he saw humanity at its finest. Sir, all fleet elements are in position, his second-in-command reported. Good. Has the ultimatum been sent to Vrexia Prime? Yes, sir. 48 hours ago. The ultimatum was simple. Surrender the individuals on the reckoning list within 48 hours or face invasion. The Vrexian government had not responded. While the fleet waited, individual hunter teams continued their missions. Lieutenant Boranam's squadron finally tracked down the Vrexian cruiser that had bombarded her homeworld of New Kyoto. They found it hiding in a nebula, trying to avoid detection. Bora's team didn't give them a chance to surrender. They attacked with everything they had, pouring missiles and railgun fire into the cruiser until it broke apart. As debris scattered across space, Bora felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy. Just a cold emptiness where her family used to be. Whisper lead target destroyed, she reported mechanically. Good kill, Whisper, Admiral Jiwan Song responded. Return to base. You've earned some rest. But Bora knew she would never rest. Not until every name on the reckoning list was crossed off. On Earth, humanity held trials for the Vrexian officers they had already captured. The trials were broadcast across the galaxy. The proceedings were fair, with defense attorneys and evidence carefully presented. But the testimony was damning. Survivors like Minji Choi, who had been on Jericho Station during the attack, described the horrors. The Vrexians had targeted civilian areas deliberately. They had executed prisoners. They had shown no mercy. The captured Vrexian admiral tried to defend his actions. We were following orders. We did what any military would do. The judge, a former human soldier, looked at him coldly. No. What you did was choose to fire on civilian targets. You chose to kill children. You had a choice, and you chose wrong. The admiral was found guilty of war crimes. His sentence, life imprisonment, not execution. Humanity wanted the galaxy to see they were better than their enemies. The 48 hours expired. The Vrexian government still had not responded to the ultimatum. Their high command was fractured, with different factions arguing about what to do. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to negotiate. A few wanted to flee. While they argued, Fleet Admiral Sionho Lim gave the order. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Destination Vrexia Prime. The Armada jumped. 2,000 human warships disappeared from their staging area and reappeared at the edge of the Vrexian home system. The Vrexian defense fleet scrambled to respond. They had 400 warships defending their homeworld, along with orbital defense platforms and planetary shields. By any reasonable assessment, they should have been able to hold. But reasonable assessments didn't account for human tactics, human determination, and months of combat experience. All ships, this is Admiral Lim, Sionho broadcast to the fleet. Our mission is not conquest. Our mission is justice. We are here for the war criminals who attacked our homes. Avoid civilian casualties. Aim only for military targets. Show the galaxy that humanity fights with honor. The battle for Vrexia Prime began. Admiral Jiwan Song led the first wave, her hunter fleet ships darting between the Vrexian defenders. They used the tactics that had worked so well for months. Unpredictable movements, coordinated strikes, exploiting every weakness in Vrexian defenses. Captain Daeho Kim brought the retribution into close combat with a Vrexian battleship. The irony was not lost on anyone. A ship the Vrexians had built was now destroying their own forces. Retribution's weapons tore into the battleship's shields until they collapsed, then hammered the hull beneath Captain Unihan's Silent. Vengeance slipped through the chaos and destroyed 3 orbital defense platforms before anyone even knew she was there. Sergeant Minho Kwan led marine assault teams onto captured enemy stations, securing them to use as forward bases. Lieutenant Boranam's fighter squadron took down Vrexian fighters by the dozens, her cold precision making her one of the most feared pilots in the fleet. The Vrexians fought bravely, but they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Human ships worked together in ways the Vrexian military doctrine couldn't predict. Human commanders made decisions that seemed insane but worked. Human crews fought with a desperation that came from defending everything they loved. 3 days into the battle, the Vrexian orbital defenses collapsed. Sionho Lim broadcast a message to the planet below. Vrexian High Command, this is Fleet Admiral Sionho Lim of the United Earth Defense Forces. Your orbital defense is broken. Your fleet is scattered. We can bombard your planet from orbit, but we will not. We are not here to slaughter civilians. We are here for justice. Surrender the individuals on the reckoning list, and this ends today. For hours, there was no response. Then finally, a transmission came from the planet. This is what remains of the Vrexian High Command. We surrender. The individuals you seek will be turned over to your custody. Across the human fleet, cheers erupted. They had won. Not just the battle, but the war. Ambassador Yunji Kang watched the broadcast from her position at the Galactic Council. She turned to the other representatives. Humanity did not seek this war, but we finished it. And we did it while maintaining our principles. Let that be a lesson to anyone who thinks humans are easy prey. The war crimes trials lasted 3 years, in specially built courtrooms on Earth and in neutral stations across the galaxy. Humanity brought 317 Vrexian military officers to justice. The proceedings were broadcast everywhere, watched by billions of beings across dozens of species. President Minji Choi attended every single day of the first trial. She sat in the gallery, watching as the Vrexian commanders who had ordered the destruction of human colonies faced their accusers. Survivors testified about the horrors they had witnessed. Evidence was presented methodically and fairly. The defendants were given lawyers. They were allowed to speak in their defense. Many claimed they were just following orders. The judges, a panel of human legal experts, rejected this argument. Orders do not absolve you of responsibility, the chief judge declared. You had a choice. You chose to fire on civilian targets. You chose to execute prisoners. You chose to commit atrocities. Now you face the consequences. Every defendant found guilty received the same sentence. Life imprisonment in conditions that met galactic standards for humane treatment. No executions. No torture. Humanity wanted to prove they were better than those who had attacked them. The galaxy watched and learned. Some species were impressed by human restraint. Others were confused by it. But everyone understood the message. Humanity could be ruthless in war, but they would not become monsters in the process. Fleet Admiral Seonho Lim oversaw the reorganization of the Vrexian military. Under the surrender terms, the Vrexian Dominion's armed forces were reduced to 20% of their previous size. All offensive weapons were removed from their ships. The former empire could defend itself, but it could not conquer others. Seonho walked through the captured Vrexian shipyards, watching as warships were dismantled. Vrexian workers, supervised by human engineers, worked quietly. There was no resistance. The Vrexian people were exhausted by the war their government had started. "Sir, the reparation schedule has been finalized," his aide reported. "The Vrexian government will pay compensation to the families of every human killed in the initial attacks. It will take them 30 years, but they've agreed to the terms." Seonho nodded. "Good. Make sure every credit goes to the victims' families. Not to the government, not to the military. To the families." Meanwhile, Admiral Ji-won Song was helping establish something new, the Galactic Defense Coalition. After watching humanity's effective military operations, several other species asked to form a mutual defense alliance. The coalition would protect member species from aggression and work to prevent future wars. "We need to make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else," Ji-won told the coalition's first meeting. Representatives from 8 species listened carefully. "The Vrexians attacked us because they thought we were weak and alone. We survived because we adapted and fought back, but not every species can do that. The coalition exists to protect those who can't protect themselves. It was a new role for humanity. Not conquerors, not victims, but protectors." Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of retribution for the last time. The ship was being decommissioned, returned to the Vrexians as a museum piece. He had commanded it for 2 years, using it to defend human convoys and hunt Vrexian stragglers. Now the war was over, and it was time to go back to his old life. "It's strange," he told his first officer, Heejin. "I spent 15 years as a cargo hauler living a simple life. Then everything changed. Now I'm going back to being a cargo hauler, but nothing will ever be the same." "You're a hero, Captain," Heejin said. "People will remember what you did." "I'm not a hero," Dae-ho replied. "I'm just a man who survived. The real heroes are the ones who didn't make it home." He thought about the thousands who had died at Jericho Station, the pilots who had sacrificed themselves in battle, the Marines who had fallen boarding enemy ships. They deserved to be remembered. On the rebuilt Jericho Station, Sujin Lee worked as the head of the Reconciliation Commission. Her job was to help former enemies learn to coexist. The station now housed both humans and Vrexians, working together to rebuild what the war had destroyed. "It's not easy," she told visitors. "There's still anger, still pain. Some people lost everything and can never forgive. I understand that. I was here during the attack. I lost friends, but I also learned that not all Vrexians supported the war. Many of them were just following orders, scared of their own government." She showed them the station's memorial garden, where names of human and Vrexian victims were carved into stone. "We remember everyone who died, human and alien, because in the end they were all people, all victims of leaders who chose war over peace." Lieutenant Bora Nam left military service after the war. She had become one of humanity's most decorated pilots, with over 40 confirmed kills. But the fighting had changed her. The emptiness inside where her family used to be never went away. She became an instructor at the military academy, teaching the next generation of pilots. On the first day of class, she always told her students the same thing. "I'm going to teach you how to fight, how to kill, how to survive in combat. But I'm also going to teach you why we train so hard. We train so that we never have to fight. We stay strong so that no one dares attack us. War is not glorious. It's not exciting. It's loss and pain and emptiness. The best warrior is the one who never has to fight." Dr. Taeyong Shin continued his weapons research, but with a different focus. Now he worked on defensive systems, better shields, and ways to detect threats early. His goal was to make sure humanity could defend itself without needing another war. "We were lucky," he told his research team. "We found a weakness in Vrexian technology and exploited it. But what if the next enemy doesn't have such weaknesses? We need to be ready for anything." Commander Hyun-woo Park became the first human admiral of the Galactic Defense Coalition. He commanded a mixed fleet of ships from different species, all working together to maintain peace. It was challenging work, coordinating different military cultures and technologies. But it was important. "The coalition is humanity's gift to the galaxy," he said in an interview. "We learned hard lessons about survival. Now we share those lessons with others. We help protect species that can't protect themselves. We prevent wars before they start. Ambassador Yunji Kang remained humanity's voice in the Galactic Council. She had become one of the most respected diplomats in the galaxy, known for her sharp wit and unwavering principles. She worked to establish new laws of warfare, protection for civilians, and accountability for war crimes. Before the war, the galaxy operated under the principle that might makes right, she told the council. The strong conquered the weak and everyone accepted it. Humanity rejects that principle. We believe in justice even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. The human protocols, as they became known, were adopted by the Galactic Council. They established rules for warfare, protection for civilians, and consequences for violations. Not every species followed them, but most did. And those who didn't found themselves isolated, their actions condemned by the galactic community. 10 years after the war, the galaxy had changed. The Vrexian Dominion was now the Vrexian Commonwealth, a democratic government that had renounced conquest. Young Vrexians grew up learning about the war as a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of aggressive militarism. Trade routes flourished as peace returned. Human merchants like Captain Daeho Kim and his new cargo ship Steadfast Hope moved goods between species. Cultural exchanges brought humans and aliens together. Young people from different worlds studied at universities across the galaxy, learning from each other. On Earth, monuments stood in memory of those who had died. The largest was in Geneva, where the United Defense Council had met during the darkest days of the war. The monument was a simple stone wall with names carved into it. Millions of names. At the base, an inscription read, "They thought assaulting humanity was easy. They learned we are survivors. Let no one forget what happens when humanity is pushed to the brink. We don't break. We fight, we endure, we prevail." President Min-ji Choi, now retired, visited the monument every year on the anniversary of the attack on Jericho Station. She would stand there for hours, reading names, remembering faces. So many lost, but their sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity had survived. Humanity had proven itself, and the galaxy was better for it. In the Jericho Station garden, a new generation of children played. Human and Vrexian children running together, laughing together. They had been born after the war. They knew the history, but they were building something new. Something better. Sujin Lee watched them play and smiled. This was what they had fought for. Not revenge, not conquest, but the chance to live in peace, to raise children in safety, to build bridges instead of walls. "Are you okay?" a young Vrexian woman asked. Her name was Kalina, and she worked with Sujin on the Reconciliation Commission. She had been a child during the war on Vrexia Prime, watching human ships in orbit. "I'm fine," Sujin said. "Just remembering." "Do you hate us?" Kalina asked quietly. "My people attacked yours. We killed so many." Sujin looked at her. "I hate what happened. I hate the commanders who ordered the attacks. But you're not them. You're trying to make things better. That's what matters." In his quarters on the Coalition flagship,